Ever feel like you're just waiting around for that one big idea to hit you? You know, like a bolt of lightning?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Instead of chasing lightning strikes, how about we build a system for great ideas?
Now that's what I call an intriguing concept. And it's actually the perfect way to describe what we're diving into today.
We're taking a page from investor John Huber. He's got this fascinating approach that he calls an idea generation assembly line.
So recently I came across a very interesting article. It was about how investor John Huber, he was telling about something called an idea generating assembly line approach. So what he was trying to say is that not to be fixated on specific ideas or like say $1 million idea, but keep developing these innovative ideas from time to time, like jot them down in a notebook or in some kind of document, and keep on revisiting them. And in periods of time, these ideas will kind of come together and they could form some bigger idea. And that's the kind of approach that he was suggesting than some like a big idea you shoot up and it just comes out like that. And this resonated with me a lot because I always been doing something similar, like get a lot of ideas and sometimes I write them down, sometimes I don't, but keep on developing on them and from time to time. And so first off, what I wanted to see was could we apply something like that to this itself? So what I did was I had the article. And first thing I wanted to do was, okay, why not, what if we can convert this article to an AI-generated podcast by NotebookLM, right? So I fed this to NotebookLM, and it came out with a really amazing podcast right there. And then what I wanted to do was, this was really amazing. I was listening to it many times, so it really brought up newer avenues and new thoughts to me. And I was like, okay, now we have a podcast, but how about we create a video? What if two people can be talking on this video and things like that? And when I searched a little about it, I saw that people have already tried adding avatars to these NotebookLM podcasts, and then some people even added characters and things like that. I was like, okay, let's try something different. How about something like you have a comic. You have a studio setting, and you have these two in a studio, two podcasters who are talking between each other, and they're discussing this article right there, and they're talking about this article, this thought by John Huber, and how ideas can be generated from time to time, the idea generation assembly line, and then so on. So I tried that. So I just used ChatGPT and asked it can you generate a comic based on this conversation? To get the conversation, I used just a couple of tools, and amazingly, it was able to kind of put up some comics right there, right away, and with almost it was not perfect, and that was also one of the things that John Huber was saying. Your ideas need not be perfect, but it was kind of out there, and it was kind of giving you the feeling that okay, it is doing something. Just by giving the dialogues, it's able to kind of generate a comic with it also generates nice backgrounds and then things like that. So I did this first, and that was really amazing. It was okay, it can generate, you can make these videos, first the photos, and then you just use some basic software to kind of match the audio with the video. So you're able to do that. So that was one of the first steps, right? And then it was okay, this is nice, but it was okay, something missing here. Can I do something better? Okay. So I tried to add maybe, can I add some waveform, spectrum waveforms to this, so that when they're talking, it adds this nice effect. So I looked up some software, and I was finally able to find a couple of the ones which are able to do some nice, add some nice waveforms. And then took the whole video, added these nice waveforms. So that was also really nice. So it's how you keep on adding to these ideas and then kind of do that the whole thing. And then add a little background music and all of that. And finally, voila, I got this whole podcast, comic style podcast based on the idea generation assembly line, and then it's not perfect, and then I'm fine with that, because this is what kind of can stir up some other possibilities, some other avenues. Like the creative side of AI is often not really paid. Not too many people are paying a lot of attention to that. Most people are just like looking at how AI could just solve problems and things like that. But the thing is that there's also this creative side of AI. It's like how, I mean, you just do something, you just try out something. It's like how you, if you're an amateur painter, you just go and paint something and you have something right there. Or if you do some bathroom singing, you just sing and go to the bathroom and then sing, and you don't care. You just do it for the fun of stuff, just for the heck of it. So in the same way, like I was just trying this for the heck of it, and I'm happy at what turned out. It may not be perfect, but definitely it was something to look forward to, and hope definitely this can also stir up better things for others as well. Until next time, catch up.
Ever feel like you're just waiting around for that one big idea to hit you? You know, like a bolt of lightning?
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of chasing lightning strikes, how about we build a system for great ideas?
Now that's what I call an intriguing concept. And it's actually the perfect way to describe what we're diving into today.
We're taking a page from investor John Huber. He's got this fascinating approach that he calls an idea generation assembly line.
I love that. It sounds way more practical than just hoping inspiration strikes.
Exactly. And the best part is this isn't about some mystical creative process. It's a strategy anyone can use.
We found this Big Thing article about Huber, and what really struck me was how it flips the script on quality over quantity.
It's counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
We tend to think a brilliant idea has to be this rare thing, but Huber says that's not how it works.
So instead of waiting for that one perfect idea, we should be churning them out left and right.
Precisely. It's like he's saying, forget the muse, let's build a system.
Okay, I'm all about building a system for creativity. So how do we get this assembly line rolling?
Well, it starts with understanding that not every idea will be a home run. Think of it like photography. Even the best photographers take tons of photos.
But they only show us the masterpieces, right?
Exactly. They understand that the more they shoot, the more likely they are to capture something truly special.
So in a way, we shouldn't be afraid to generate ideas, even if they seem kind of, at first.
You got it. It's about volume. The more ideas you're willing to explore, the greater your chances of finding that hidden gem.
Makes total sense. So how do we shift our mindset from this idea has to be amazing to let's brainstorm a ton of possibilities? How do we get that engine running?
Huber's a big believer in writing. He actually said, the more I write, the more I think.
Interesting. And it makes sense when you think about it. Putting those thoughts down, whether it's pen and paper or typing them out, it forces you to really engage with them.
And that act of engaging with your thoughts, that's where the magic happens.
It's like giving those sparks of inspiration a chance to catch fire. Speaking of sparks, there's this great quote from Kevin Kelly, the co-founder of Wired magazine. The article mentions him too. He said, "The longer your view is, the more optimistic you can become." I feel like there's a connection there, don't you?
Absolutely. It's about playing the long game in innovation. When we embrace this idea of constantly generating ideas, even if they're not all winners, we're essentially taking a long-term approach.
You're building momentum.
Precisely. And that momentum can be incredibly powerful. It's like we're creating the ideal conditions for those truly game-changing ideas to emerge.
So instead of waiting for inspiration to strike, we can actively cultivate it through this idea generation assembly line. But how do we actually make that happen? What does it look like in practice?
Well, imagine this. You're trying to come up with a new business idea.
Ooh, okay. I like where this is going. Walk me through it. How would John Huber approach that? Okay, so I'm picturing myself. I want to start a business.
Yeah.
What's the first step on this idea assembly line?
So instead of getting stuck trying to come up with that one perfect business idea, the $1 million idea.
Right, which can feel pretty overwhelming.
You can. So instead of aiming for perfection right off the bat, you'd start by generating as many ideas as possible, even if they seem kind of out there.
Even if they're like a robot that does my laundry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if it's something like that. The key here is quantity over quality at this stage. Don't censor yourself. Just jot down every single thought that comes to mind.
Got it. So I'm like speed writing business ideas, no matter how crazy they seem.
So you're brainstorming a mile a minute.
Right.
And once you've got a good number of ideas down, that's when you can start looking for patterns.
Okay, so I've got my notebook full of these wild business ideas. What kind of patterns am I looking for?
Well, you'll want to start grouping those ideas. See if there are any recurring themes. For example, maybe a bunch of your ideas revolve around sustainability,
Okay, so let's say I've got a bunch of ideas about sustainable living.
right? Or maybe you've got a cluster of ideas that all involve technology or food or travel. Whatever those themes might be, start grouping them together.
So it's about finding those common threads, even if they're not immediately obvious.
Exactly. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Once you've identified those groups, you can start combining ideas from different clusters. What happens if you merge that sustainability idea with that tech idea?
Ah, I see. So you're not just brainstorming in isolation. You're looking for those unexpected connections.
You got it. And sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas come from combining two seemingly unrelated concepts. Don't be afraid to experiment and see what sticks.
This is making me realize that we often get so fixated on finding that one perfect idea that we end up stifling our own creativity.
It's true. We put so much pressure on ourselves to come up with something amazing right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But when we embrace this assembly line approach, it's like we're giving ourselves permission to play.
To explore those unconventional paths.
Exactly. And those unconventional paths, they often lead to the most exciting destinations.
Speaking of exciting destinations, the article also talks about investor Nick Sleep and how he was able to spot these incredible companies like Costco and Amazon way before they were household names.
Ah, yes. Nick Sleep. He's a fantastic example of someone who understands the power of long-term thinking. He wasn't looking for quick wins. He was searching for those honestly run compounding machines, as he called them.
Those businesses with strong fundamentals that just keep growing year after year.
Exactly. And he wasn't afraid to be patient. He knew that true greatness takes time to unfold.
Which reminds me of something else that really resonated with me from the article. This idea that constraints can actually boost creativity.
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? You'd think that having unlimited resources would lead to the most innovative outcomes.
Right. You'd think the sky's the limit.
But sometimes it's those limitations that force us to think outside the box.
Like when you have a limited budget and you have to get scrappy.
Exactly. You have to find creative ways to stretch those resources. And that can lead to some truly ingenious solutions.
It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Precisely. When we're forced to work within certain constraints, it forces us to be more resourceful, more intentional with our choices. And that can spark a whole new level of creativity.
So it's not always about having more. It's about making the most of what we have.
Exactly. It's about embracing those constraints as opportunities for innovation, instead of viewing them as obstacles.
Okay, so we've talked about the assembly line approach, the importance of volume over immediate quality, embracing constraints. What else can we learn from John Huber's approach to idea generation? Okay, so we've talked about the assembly line approach, the importance of volume over immediate quality, embracing constraints. What else can we learn from John Huber's approach to idea generation?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me was how much Huber emphasizes building a system for actually keeping track of all those ideas you're generating.
So it's not enough to just have those brainstorming sessions. You have to have a way to capture those ideas.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, how often do we have a great idea only to forget it a few hours later?
All the time. It's so frustrating.
Right, so the key is to have a system in place. Yeah. Whether it's a physical notebook, a note-taking app on your phone, voice memos, whatever works for you, just make sure you have a designated space where you can jot down those ideas as they come to you.
It's like having a treasure chest for your brainstorms.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just like any good treasure chest, you'll want to revisit it regularly. Maybe schedule a weekly idea review session.
Yeah.
Just block out some time to go back through your notes, look for connections, or maybe an idea that seemed kind of bland a few weeks ago suddenly sparks something new.
Because sometimes you need that fresh perspective.
Exactly. Time has a way of giving you a different angle on things. Yeah. And as you revisit those ideas, you might find that they start to combine and evolve in ways you never expected.
It's like that assembly line keeps running even when we're not consciously thinking about it.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of building a system. It takes the pressure off of having to constantly come up with brilliant ideas on demand.
Yeah.
Instead, you're cultivating creativity as an ongoing practice.
So it's less about sporadic bursts of inspiration and more about creating a fertile environment for those breakthroughs to happen.
Exactly. You're setting the stage for those aha moments to occur more naturally.
So to wrap things up for our listeners today, what are some key takeaways they can walk away with from John Huber's approach to idea generation?
Well, first and foremost, embrace volume. Don't be afraid to generate a ton of ideas, even if they seem silly or impractical at first. You never know where that initial spark of inspiration might lead.
It's like that old saying, you have to kiss a lot of frogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, create a system for capturing and revisiting those ideas. A simple note-taking habit can make all the difference.
And don't forget to schedule those regular idea review sessions. It's amazing what can happen when you give your mind a chance to wander back through those brainstorms.
Precisely. And finally, remember that idea generation is a skill that can be developed with practice. The more you flex that creative muscle, the easier it'll become to generate those innovative solutions.
So ditch the waiting game for inspiration and start building your own idea generation assembly line today. You never know. Your next big idea could be just around the corner.
That's right. And those breakthroughs, they tend to happen when we least expect them. But we can certainly create the right conditions for them to flourish.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into the world of idea generation. It really is amazing how much we can learn from someone like John Huber, whose expertise lies in a completely different field.
It just goes to show that the principles of creativity and innovation, they're universal. Whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, an artist, or just someone who wants to live a more fulfilling life, those principles apply.
Absolutely. It's all about embracing that spirit of curiosity and experimentation and building those systems that support our creative endeavors.